I'm Jeff St Laurent, and this is our Tuesday call. As always, it's gonna be a great topic today. It's basically a Facebook group and the value of it, the behind the scenes, and how it can be a great asset for your business, and then also how you can monetize it as well. Because you have to remember, as I teach and help coaches transition to a full-time business. One of the things we have to be cognizant of is when you say the word business is, you've got to be profitable in business. In other words, you want it to create an income, and we want it to create an income that's more than enough so it can, pay for more than just the bills. It can provide a lifestyle for you and your family and whatever it is that you want to do in your world. So before we get started, and I'm going to tell you about, I record the calls and I post them on my website every Friday in my university. So my website, sellingcoaching.com. If you go to the university, you can see all of the videos there, and amongst them in the categories, you can see the Tuesday calls, and you'll be able to access those. We're up to, this will be call number 41, so we're on a roll with that, and that's always a great thing when you can do something consistently like that, to keep people engaged and keep educating them and building your audience. So that's where you can check out the Tuesday calls. Also, if you go to my website, sellingcoaching.com, and this is a great kind of segue into talking about a Facebook group, is right at the top of my page. And if you're listening now on the recording or whatever, go there, sellingcoaching.com, and right away at the top of the page, right above the navigation bar, you're going to see kind of a lime-colored, if you will, lime-colored green bar that says, join my private Facebook group. And when you go around my website, whether it's in the mobile version or a desktop version, iPad, whatever, wherever you go on my website, and even as you scroll, that navigation bar will follow you. And so that join my private Facebook group, that form of lead capture, is really what it is going to follow you around. So as you start to engage and consume some of my information, it's going to be another way you could become a part of my audience. So I'm not just saying that now for you listeners. If you're not a part of that, definitely go and check that out. But as I get into the content today, that is basically a Facebook group is a great form of lead capture, and that's really kind of where we get into this. Is we start to understand basically the essence of our business is we want to attract an audience, and when we attract an audience, we need somewhere for the audience to go. And so when I talk about a private Facebook group, essentially, I want you to think about a Facebook group as basically a form of lead capture. That's really what it is. We'll get into the benefits of it and things like that and how to monetize it and engage with people, but it's a great form of lead capture. And so when you're setting up your strategy for building your audience, because remember, that's our role in our business. It doesn't matter any interaction we do with people, if they don't follow us somewhere, somehow, we can never stay in front of them. And what that does is that poses a problem because we need to be in front of them on a consistent basis. And the number one way that everyone should unequivocally be doing is having an email list and building an email list. And then there could be some form of second lead capture. And that's where if you're using Facebook as a primary form of, like, for your social media platform, you have to look at your audience, hopefully if you've identified it well enough, and you want to identify, kind of based on the demographic, and more so age group would most likely now determine where or what social platform these people would hang out on. If you determine Facebook to be like, yes, that's definitely the platform of choice for my demographic, then a Facebook group would be a great option for you. Real quick, the difference between a Facebook page and a Facebook group, because there is a significant difference. Everyone on Facebook has a Facebook profile. That's just your personal profile and who you are and your family stuff. And whether you post on there or not, everyone has a Facebook profile. A Facebook page is like for a business page. And I just like, when I work with my clients, I just like to tell them, think of a Facebook page as kind of like a blog, and it's a blog that people can like. So people like your Facebook page. And on your Facebook page, you can do posts. I mean, it could be video posts, written posts, pictures, and any combination of that as well. Facebook page is a great place to start off, especially if you don't have a website. Where I start off with my mentoring clients is if we're not quite there yet, whether either budget-wise or just really ready for it yet, and even before you do anything like that, I'd say start off with a Facebook page, and literally that could be your website. You can set your domain to go to that Facebook page. and that you can have a form of lead capture on there, and that's where you can start to post some articles, some videos, and things like that. And the essence of lead capture there is you can have a link to a free offer from your email list. You can also have a link to your Facebook page, which I'll get to in a second, so you can contrast the difference. And then also on there, people can also like the page, like I said. And liking a page is nice. It gives you some form of social proof in some ways, because obviously the more people that like a page, it shows that you're kind of out there and you're doing things. And then obviously as you start to post, the more people that like it, whatever those posts will show up on their news feed. But a Facebook page, it's great for just kind of getting information out there. You could set up events as well, but it's not so great for interaction. It doesn't mean people can't interact. They can share a post, they can comment, they can like, love, or whatever a certain post you have. But that's where a Facebook group comes in. Facebook group is something, a next level of think of it as more as a community. And it's a community where they can join. There's 3 types of Facebook groups, and I forget what the first one's called. It's just a Facebook group. It's a public group, I believe it's called. Then there's a private group, and then there's a secret group. And I recommend a private group, unless you're doing something like I'm working with a mentoring client, and they're working with infidelity with couples and helping them save the marriage. Something like that might want to be more of a secret group, meaning you can't find it. Even if you search for it, you cannot find it. It's by invite only, and then it doesn't show up anywhere. So that would be advantageous if you're doing something that's maybe more sensitive information where people wouldn't want other people to know that they're a part of it. But a private Facebook group is typically the best way to go. My Selling Coaching group is a private group, and all a private group means is that you have to request to join. There's different settings when you set it up, which is very easy to do. You can literally set up a Facebook group in a matter of seconds. I mean, you click group, you click the name, you pick the type of group you want, you hit submit, and it's like, boom, you have a group. I mean, it's literally, you can set it up in a minute or so. But with a private group, basically, you can approve the people that request to join. So there's some type of, like admission almost into it. You don't have to have it's not like you have super hard criteria to get in, like they got to write an essay or something. But I always, take a quick moment to kind of hover over the name, click on their profile, check out who they are, and then, send them a friend request, and then, accept them into the group. And then I private message them and welcome them into the group as well. So it is nice to have that exclusivity, so to speak, that they're a part of this private group. And then the value of a private group is that anyone who is not a member of the group, they can't see what's posted on there. So everyone in the group, it will show up on your timeline. So you'll see other postings from other people in the Selling Coaching group, for instance, if you're in it. You might see that stuff on your timeline, but other people won't see that. So the content in some ways is somewhat exclusive in that regards to that private group. And it's a great place really to interact with your community. And that's really the biggest value of that group is, like I said, you want to have email, but with email is a great way to stay in front of your audience. And like I said, it's definitely something everybody wants to have. You want to have an email list. And the reason for that is you never want to rely completely on something like a social media, for instance, like a Facebook group, where that's the only place where your audience is. Because, you don't know how Facebook's going to change over time. So if you build everything up around one social platform and then they change how it works, or now it's paid versus something else, and whether you like it or not, or I don't know, or they just aren't around anymore for some weird reason, you always want to have access to your email list. That will go with you forever. And an email list is something that you always want to be emailing your people on a weekly basis, and staying in touch with them. But where email falls short in a lot of ways is there's not any interaction via email. People might respond to something because they liked it or they wanted to make a comment on it, but it's very rare that someone will actually engage with you, even if you ask a question via email. So that's where the Facebook group comes in, and it's a place where you can really start to interact. So I want you to think of that Facebook group, like I said, as a form of lead capture. And the way I started the call was when I talked about my website and how I had it right there over the navigation bar. I use that as a form of lead capture. And so not only can they opt into my email list, but they can click over to there. And the value of that in terms of lead capture is is it's a very easy way to capture someone's lead, meaning all they have to do is click a button to join. They don't have to enter their name or their email address or any other information. They just see the join button. They like what they see in the description. They click join. And then you as the owner of the group or whoever gets a notification via email saying, hey, so-and-so wants to join the group. And then you can check on them and you can approve them and you're in. And the value of it makes it so easy is it's easy to join, meaning one click. But then here's the cool part. I like to call it like this. It's almost like an email hack. Email hack in the sense that you don't have that person's email address. You know who they are now because you can see their profile on Facebook. You can also now instantly private message them. You have a reason to private message them via Facebook. But also, anytime you or someone else posts in your group, they're going to get an email notification from the group. And the cool part is if you think about it like this, I just think this is fascinating, is that, when you think about email, like some of you hopefully are on my email list. If you're not, you can always go to my website, Selling Coaching, and right there, there's actually a free offer on there for my ultimate startup guide for new coaches. But regardless, if you're on my email list and I sent you even an email a day, right? And I tend to send at least 3, maybe 4 emails a week based on my marketing and what I'm doing, letting people know about my calls, so forth and so on, the recordings. So there are reasons to email people. I'm not selling the whole time. So it's interacting with them in that way. But you could get away with an email a day from someone that you're subscribed to. And as long as you like the person and it was relevant information, it wouldn't be like, oh my God, it's too much, right? But if I started emailing you from that list and I emailed you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times a day, right? How quickly would you unsubscribe? I would say pretty quickly. Even if you love that person, after several days of that, you'd be like, oh my God, this person is emailing me all the time. It's so ridiculous. I'm going to unsubscribe. However, when you're in a Facebook group, or any other social media for that matter, you'll get notifications once, twice, 3, 5, 10, 15, maybe 20, and depending on how active the group is, maybe, dozens of times a day, if not more than that. But for some reason, it's acceptable, right? For some reason with social media, it's acceptable. So that's why I kind of like to call it an email hack in some ways, is because they're not even really answering their name and email address, but now you're in front of them on email. And then additionally, now all of a sudden, it's acceptable for you to be in front of them, multiple times a day. And you don't even have to be the one doing it, because as other people tend to engage, participate, comment, within the group, they get notifications on those as well. Sometimes if a bunch of people post it once, it will be grouped together in one email and it will say, let's say Jeff St Laurent commented in Selling Coaching and 5 others. But either way, you're still getting notifications. So that's what a great value of it is. Like I said, I always relate things back to selling, right? And selling and marketing, because that's the aspect of how I help coaches transition to full time. Is the value of that in sending the emails, and then on top of that, having a Facebook group and those notifications, is now you get to be in front of these people daily, multiple times a day, and now it's acceptable. In the past when we didn't have things like groups or even social media, all we had was email, and emailing once a day was probably at the time for many people a lot, unless there was a reason. But you could still get away with an email a day, and it's a great business model. But anything more than that just gets ridiculous. But now we can be in front of our audience multiple times a day, every single day of the week, and we don't even have to be doing it all the work. And the value of that, like I said, in terms of selling is that now all of a sudden we're top of mind. And the value is that we have to remember, people buy, and you hear me say this in a lot of different calls, people buy based on need and then the timing of that need. So for instance, every single one of you wants to build a coaching business, and be successful. Whether you're transitioning to full-time or you're already there, you want to, grow that business and make it more profitable. And there are different aspects of it that you need some assistance on. And so that's why you follow me, right? You're in my group, you're on these calls, you're listening to the recordings, you have my emails, you consume the information that I give, but you might not be ready to buy something from me, whether it's hire me as a one-on-one mentoring, or joining my group mentoring program, right? So you might not be quite there yet, but when you're there, when I'm in front of you repetitively each and every day, not just from my email, but more importantly now from the group, by getting these notifications, you're seeing selling coaching, you're seeing my face, you're seeing my name, Jeff St Laurent, and it's multiple times a day. And even if you're not reading everything, which no one does, a lot of people, you just swipe delete, swipe delete, swipe delete, but still you're top of mind. They see the name, you're in front of them. So all of a sudden there's that one topic that you post, or that one call topic, or that one event that you're doing, that where now that person in your group, the timing is right, and they're like, oh my God, this is what I need. And next thing you know, they're listening to the call, they're responding, they're emailing you, and the next thing you know, that they become your client, or they join into one of your groups and they buy. So that's the biggest value of the repetition of being in front of people, and that's a big piece as to why a Facebook group is of great value. Is, again, it allows you to be in front of your people more consistently each and every day, and now it's acceptable. And like I said, not everyone's reading it, right? They're just swiping and deleting the majority of the time. But that's what you have to realize, is that even though they're swiping and deleting the majority of the time, they're engaged in some way. And because when something shows up that does pull them in, that's when they click through. They might comment, they might watch, or something like that. And that's where we really it's our job in a group to really start to engage the people. So in terms of interaction and engagement, one of the things I want to say, to set your expectations right, is, as with anything, emails, in terms of openings and comments or posts, things like that, you really got to set your expectations right in terms of what to expect from that. And based on what I've seen in different groups and what I've experienced with my group, is that I would expect between 5 to 10% engagement at any one time. So in other words, if I did a post, and right now, for instance, I have 670 people in my Facebook group. So 5 to 10%, let's just say between like 3 to 6 people, 4 to 7 people, roughly, would engage with that post. And maybe and engaging means commenting and or liking or loving something. That's it. 6 to 7 people. So if you're starting a group off and you have 10 people, I might expect like maybe 0 to 1 person to like engage. If you've got 100 people, right? So we start to do the math, whatever size group that you have. And so a lot of times, if you're in groups that have larger groups, and 2,000, 10,000, 70,000, I've seen some groups 100,000 people in it. Well, if they're getting a lot of comments, if you look at the percentage, if there's 20,000 people in a group and a couple hundred people are commenting and liking, or some combination of that, you think like, wow, that's fantastic. And then you go to your group of 50 people, and you're like, oh, I want to get more people. It's all a numbers game, but you've got to set your expectations straight, because even though it's a great place to interact, there's a lot of people that don't come out and interact. However, what I've seen from interacting with people behind the scenes, and even just some messages here and there that are usually spurred on by myself, meaning when people join the group, I said, I will friend request them, I will private message them, because I want to get to know them. I want to know who they are. I want to understand, how did they find me? What was their motivation for wanting to join? What are they hoping to get out of the group? So I do that through a private message. I'll do that through, every month or so, every few weeks, or whenever it is, welcoming the new members to the group, seeing who engages, and that's the interaction that I want to start engaging with those people. And I've got to tell you, engagement comes from you. Engagement's going to come from you actually, like I said, doing those things I just described, getting in the private message, calling people out, welcoming people, and then any type of interaction they have, like liking or commenting, even for that matter. It's following up on that and saying, oh, I'm curious I saw that you liked this last post. I'm curious what you liked about it. It's going even from there into a private message and saying, hey, I noticed you liked my last post on so forth and so on. Or I noticed you said you were going to attend my event. I didn't get to see you there. I'm curious, what was your motivation for wanting to come? Where are you at in your coaching business? And so that I do that on a daily basis. That's my work. This is how we start to monetize not just a private Facebook group, but really anything. But a private Facebook group allows us that space where we can start to interact. But like I said, we're not getting, I'm not getting 670 people interacting, and especially when I get a new face or someone that comments or likes, and I'm like, who's that person? Like, I don't even know that person. I'll make it a point to, comment on that. Those of you that are in my group notice I will comment on everything, every video that's posted in there, unless I miss something randomly, but I'm always in there commenting on everything and replying to people when they comment as well. And that's the type of work that we want to be doing with that. But whenever I see that new face, like I said, I will make it a point to reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed that you commented on, someone's video or blah, blah, blah. And, I haven't seen you in the group before, or, I haven't seen you interact at all. And I'll ask those questions again, what was your motivation for joining? Or I'll look at their profile on Facebook. Facebook's a great place to stalk people, right? But stalking them in the sense you can find something out about them, and you can use that as a point to interact with them and say, hey, I noticed that you, whatever, right? That you live here, or you went to school here, or I saw that you have, 2 kids. And you can even say, like, yes, I was stalking you on Facebook, but I wanted to find out a little bit more about you. Or I even, I saw your website and I checked it out. It looks pretty cool. So you can, it's not like you're meeting someone on the street and you have no idea who they are. You've got to ask them those questions. In this instance, you can actually go check them out a little bit and use that as an intro point. And you're basing that upon, reaching out, maybe something that they did in the group. It's like, hey, I noticed that you commented. It's great to see you commenting. I know, and then you kind of go from there. So what I'm starting to describe is this is the work that you want to do in the group to keep it alive, to keep people knowing that you're there, you're present. It's not just something that you just post something and you're never there. You want it to be a place where you're going every day. I go there on a daily basis, multiple times a day. I typically stay away from it on the weekends, although I do check it a couple times throughout the weekend just to see if there's anyone requesting to join, so I can approve them so they can go ahead and get in the group and start doing whatever it is that they want to do, maybe participate in maybe some of the challenges, etc. But for the most part, I'm in it, the 5 business days during the week, interacting and just trying to keep things going in the sense of interaction. Those that are in other private Facebook groups, you might notice a theme or a trend in terms of they have different days where each day is a different theme, and today is offer day where you can promote your business. And today is a motivational Monday, or today is whatever it is. And each day has a certain themes. Help me out Wednesday. Ask us any question that you want or whatever. And so you can have different styles like that to interact. I chose to take the route of just starting off kind of ad hoc, meaning just I don't know what I want to do. I didn't want to have a schedule. I wanted to be more spontaneous and to see what was relevant at the time. And then after having it, I think it was for about 4 months, in January of last year, of this year, lose track of time, I launched the Visibility Challenge in my group, and that's creating 30 videos over 91 days for many, many reasons. But that became very popular, and that kind of took on its own thing. And then once that initial 91 days was over, I made it an ongoing challenge. And so from there, I chose not to have like theme days. I could have any of those days randomly if I choose to, and I've done a few along the way. But what I've tried to make the group more about is getting people interact and engage through the videos. And I want more and more people to either continue with the videos or more people using the videos. And I also I found that as a great way where the group kind of can sustain itself, because people know what they can do in the group. They can post the videos. Obviously, they can do other things as well. But people will get to know other people better. And the cool part about it is that's why I love the video aspect. Is it's a great way to know people so much better. When I watch those videos, I really feel like I'm like, wow, I know this person. I know who they are. I know more of their personality, what they're looking for. People also have been opening up quite a bit and sharing as they do more and more videos. They share more personal aspects of where they are, where they've been in their lives, and so it creates a closer community. The cool things I've seen, even with the visibility challenge of creating videos, there's been, I think, up to date, like 6 people, 3 different pairs of people that have either traveled or were in the same state or close by. And as a result of the challenge, they got together. A few of them actually did, a video together and saying, hey, we both realized we were, by watching each other's videos, we both lived in, let's say, Seattle or, wherever. And they got together for like dinner or lunch or whatever, and they did a video together. And it was really cool starting to see people connecting. And that's part of a nice benefit of it, is it's another way of connecting people to information, to each other, and creating a strong network. And the cool part is for you, it leverages you as the expert, right? You're the facilitator, you're the person of the group. You have instant credibility, you have instant influence, you have instant attention because you're the man or you're the woman of that group. And so you have a platform to share what you want to share. And that's a cool thing is when you have something, a rant or a rave or just something that you just want to share, you can just get in there really quick and type a post, create a quick little video, put it in there, and get your message across to those people. So it's a really fantastic way of being able to engage, but getting your message out there as well. So those are some of kind of the benefits of it, and like I said, leveraging you as that expert. That's a really big piece to it as well. Some of the things you could do, which is also nice in the group, and as you know, for those of people that are in it, and you can do this on a Facebook page as well, is creating an event. The difference though in a group, when you create an event, the cool part is when you create an event, like for instance, these Tuesday calls, instead of just posting something about a Tuesday call, I create an event in my group. And when I create an event and I do that, it actually invites everybody in the group, but only the people that are your friends on Facebook. So that's why I friend request everybody when they come in on there, because it will actually send an invitation out just specifically for the event. So it's another great way of not only notifying people, through the actual post, but then also that, hey, this is an event that's going on. And I don't know if anyone listening to this has ever seen this or it's happened to them, but also what I noticed, if your Facebook is connected to, let's say, a Google Calendar or an online calendar, it happened on mine, and I didn't even set it up this way, but I must have had it set up. But whenever I set an event up for my Tuesday call, like the morning of, or even like an hour before, or 30 minutes before, I will actually get a notification on my phone from my calendar saying that, hey, you have a call at 12 o'clock, and it's, the advantage of a private Facebook group, or, whatever the call is. And so it's kind of cool. So, and I've had other people tell me, I was like, yeah, I've gotten these notifications on my phone separate from Facebook, that it's in their calendar automatically. And I didn't put it in there, they didn't put it in there, but with the automation of the phone, smartphones and internet and stuff like that, it just puts stuff in your calendar. Other groups that I'm a member of, I don't even know what events are going on, and sometimes I'll get a notification saying, hey, there's a call at, blah, 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 and here's the topic. And I'm like, what is that? But again, it's a way of getting in front of people. So that's a great avenue of, again, another way of being in front of people. And again, using the group, when you create an event like that, it will invite those people, and for a lot of those people, it will actually put that in their calendars on their smartphones, depending how they set it up. So those are some great advantages. And again, it all goes back to staying in front of people. So, being able to use those events to, maybe you're marketing something, maybe you're doing a webinar, maybe you're doing a call like this, maybe you got something going on, you can use those events as well, which is really cool. Maybe you're selling a product. And you could do that. You don't want people joining your private Facebook group and you're always like, just selling something. But you can have that aspect when it's appropriate. You can also use the description. And in the description, like if you went to my selling coaching private Facebook group, You can actually, if you look at the description and expand it out, after I kind of describe, hey, here's what this group is for, one of the very first things up there is hey, here's your free gift. And there's a link there basically to the Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. And that's my other form of lead capture. That's where they can click on that and they can opt in and get that. And now they've opted into my email list as well. And so now I've taken that easy opt-in of just clicking to join the private Facebook group. I now have access to their email because they're going to be getting those notifications from the group, multiple times a day. But then everyone goes to the description. I mean, we don't know everyone goes to the description, but we'd assume that a good 90, if not 99% or 100% of people will at least glance at the description. It doesn't mean everyone's going to opt in that way, but there's a good chance that people will be able to see that, and that's another form of getting them on your email list as well. So it kind of both things tie together. So if they're in the private Facebook group, in the description you can have a link to your free offer to get them on your email list. And then, like I said, if they're on my website, there's a place to get into my private Facebook group and to opt into my email list as well. And then if you're on my email list, you'll have seen when I've talked about different things I'm doing, maybe in the group or things like that, or something that happened. Every now and then I'll say, hey, in our private Facebook group, we did blah, 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 or I posted something like this and that. And I might say, hey, if you're not in the private Facebook group, check it out here and join, and I'll click a link. And I've done that several times, in months in the past. And I would send an email like that, and next thing you know, I go to the group, and within the next day or so, I'd have 6, 7, 8 people that came over specifically from my email list, because I can see on the back end, where they're coming from. And so I know there's people on there that haven't been in the group or don't know about it yet. So again, it's a great way, though, even though they're on my email list, now I can get them in my group as well. It's a different form of interaction. And what you want is you want people to get to know you. If they're going to hire you, if they're going to buy something from you, they've got to get to know you. They've got to know what makes you different. They've got to know you as a person, what you value, what you teach. That's why people hire you. It's not because you're better or worse than anybody else. It's just because they start to get to know you, and they like your message. They become comfortable with you, and then through that they can start to see themselves working with you. And when, like I said, that timing is right and they have that need, that's when they're more likely to buy from there. And so that's a really, really big piece to it all. Last thing I'll do before I open the call up, which is for questions and answers and comments, really not the most important piece, but without it we can't have the group, is how do we build it, right? How do we actually build it? And I did cover this and talked about it with different points throughout, but how do we build a private Facebook group? How do we actually get people to join the group? First, I'll tell you real quick the one way not to do it, which if you've been on long enough, you probably have seen this or been a part of this, and it really bothers me, is when someone just joins you to a group, right? It's different if you've talked to them and they said, yeah, join me, that's great. But it's when someone just, you may or may not know, they create a private Facebook group, and the next thing you know, you get an email saying, hey, so-and-so added you to their group. And I've been added to groups, and I'm like, who is this person? Like, I don't even know this person. And I even check, I'm like, well, maybe they're in my group, or maybe, and it's just like, no, why do I want to be a part of this group? They didn't invite me to ask me, like, hey, I started this group. I'd love for you to check it out, and if you like it, consider joining. At least that's a better approach. So that's one thing I'd say don't do, is do not just, click and join people automatically. When you start a group, you need someone to join it so you can start a group. You need at least one person. Ask somebody, or, have a good buddy, or like whenever I'm talking to my clients, I'll say, if you want, you just use me to join the group. This way you can start it and go from there. So you do need someone at least to start it, but you can always ask a friend and say, hey, here's what I'm doing, do you mind? They can always unjoin it later if they want, if they don't want to really be a part of it, but they're just helping you out. But other than that, definitely do not just do that. I've had people, and I've seen groups that just start, and they're just like, they got, 800, 900 people in it, instantly, like the second or third day. And I'm sitting here, at 670 people after, a year. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And you realize it's like, yeah, it doesn't mean you can't build it that fast, but people are they're adding people. They're just adding people automatically who don't want to be part of the group. one of the biggest things is it's not about numbers. It's not about volume. Is it nice to have a group that with several thousand, 20,000, 30,000 people? Absolutely. I'd love to have a whole lot more people, but numbers aren't going to do what you want it to do. It's not like, oh, just because I have 20,000 people in my group means that I'm going to monetize it and be making X amount of dollars or whatever, or have a certain amount of engagement. It's when people join the group because they want to join the group. And so how do we build the group? And I'll say it's literally one person at a time. Like literally over the last year, I mean, every single person in my group is there because I've either invited them to be there through interacting with them, or I've done something where by nature of my videos that I've put out there and interaction somewhere online, they've migrated to my website and or the group itself, seen it, liked it, and they clicked on it because they put their hand up saying, hey, I want to join, not, hey, I've joined you, So that's the thing. And it's slow that way. I mean, it's slow, right? So if you take my 670 people and you divide it, let's say by 52 weeks, let's just call it 13 if I round up a little bit. So that's 13 people a week, for that matter, So that's like what that average is. And you could start it and it could be triple that, or it could be a fraction of that. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just one person at a time. And so how do you do that? You interact with people. You get on Facebook. You find other groups and or platforms where your ideal audience is, and you interact with people, and you help people, and you answer questions. And by the inherent nature of social media, which is what we do with social media, like I said, we stalk people. They stalk you, right? So you interact, you help somebody out, you answer some questions. I like to share, when it's appropriate if they ask a question. It's part of the reason why I do all my videos and these calls as well. Is when someone asks a question that maybe one of my calls went into great detail with. What a great way to say, hey, listen, I noticed you asked a question on private Facebook groups. I happen to have done this call on blah 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 on private Facebook groups. I pasted a link down below. If you care to check it out, I'm sure it would be of great value to you. When I do that, I mean, 99% of the time, I could almost say 100% of the time, I'll see that person. Having subscribed to my email list and or requesting to join my private Facebook group over, let's say, the next 24 hours. It's just a natural migration because they click on it, they start to watch, they start to listen. They're on my website. Like I said, I have those places for that lead capture. They obviously have found some value in what I'm saying, whether they've listened to a minute or the whole call, and now they're part of my group. And then I start to interact with them a little bit, and who knows where it goes from there. But that's how it happens. So I interact with them, and it happens organically as a result of the interaction and the stalking, the Facebook stalking. Or if I don't see them, I'll interact with them a little bit more, or I'll follow up with them on Facebook, and I'll say, hey, did you happen to get a chance to listen to that call? I'm curious what you received from it, or were we able to answer your question? And then if we start a little conversation back and forth, when it's appropriate, I'll say, hey, it was great connecting with you. I'm not sure if you're interested or not, but it sounds like you're going, it sounds like you're a coach. It sounds like you're looking to do X, Y, and Z. I actually have a private Facebook group that I feel that you'd be, a great asset to, or you could benefit greatly from. I'd love for you to check it out. And if it feels right, I'd love to have you in the group. And I would invite people just like that. And it's very unassuming. It's not pressure. It's just like, hey, I'm doing it based upon what I see and what you're looking for. And here you go. It's up to you. And that's the way people join it. But if you notice, this requires a lot of back-end work. This is the work we do in our business. This is how we interact with people and go from there. And ultimately, through those conversations that we have, we find the people that have timing and the need is right. And that's when, where appropriate, we can make a transition and approach and say, hey, would you ever consider hiring me as your coach, as your mentor coach, or something like that? And I go into that, for the details on that. Check out some of my other calls on, qualifying leads, qualifying before we give out the complimentary session. So if you went to sellingcoaching.com under the university, type some of those words into the search bar, and you'll see the calls that will pop up because of that. But that's how we really will build it. Another way of building it is through Facebook ads. And again, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but we can create Facebook ads, and through those Facebook ads, you can create an ad to join your Facebook group. I have an ad that I've been running for a while for my free offer to build my email list. And then once they opt into my email list, on the thank you page, it says, hey, thanks so much. Your PDF and audio program is going to be in your inbox momentarily. But before you go, I ask them, please like my Facebook page. And then the second thing is hey, I got a private Facebook group. I'd love to have you check it out and become a member. And people come in as a matter of that way too. So there's lots of ways we can do that. If you're doing calls or you're doing events, if you notice at the beginning of these calls, whether I'm talking about this Facebook group or not, I always invite people to my private Facebook group because as they listen to it, as they find this, and whether they find it through my site or through something I pasted, or maybe they found it through YouTube, it's one of the first things I say. I also have links next to the calls, especially like on other platforms like YouTube, that brings them to my website and or my private Facebook group. So it's all over the place. And in this way, it ensures people that whether they're listening to it or they actually see the link, if they're curious enough and they like what they're hearing, they'll come over as well. So that's how we build it. There's no sexy, magical, super fast way of doing it. There's things you can do with joint ventures if you partner with somebody else, or you do something in another Facebook group. If they allowed you to post something, or you did an interview with them and then they posted it there, you might get some people who see that coming over and checking out your group and joining it that way. But at the end of the day, that's how you do it, one person at a time. And the reason I broke down my number of 670 members over 52 weeks, because like I said, I've done this for a full year now, and being roughly 13 people a week that's how it goes. You start off and you get 13 people, and then you got 26 people, and so forth and so on. It feels slow sometimes, but after a year, it's a certain number, and after 2 years, it's another number, and it's the consistency over time. And next thing you know, there's thousands of members. Are there other groups that grow a whole heck of a lot quicker than mine or somebody else's? Absolutely. And the thing is, you can't predict or try like, oh, mine's gonna go fast or slow or whatever. It's just whatever happens. All you can do is be there, do the things I'm talking about. And if you understand the behind the scenes of it, like I've shared today, that's how you can make the most of it and make it the most effective.